All right, what's up, gravel hunters? Okay, dude, I have a fun trail for you today. All right, check it out. So, first off, I've got this video sped up to ×4 speed, and so that's why it's going pretty fast there. I was just on the 38, Highway 38, heading up toward Big Bear, and so that section that I was just on was Damnation Alley. Okay, Strava Segment, Damnation Alley. My buddy Austin right there. We're gonna hit this trail. So this goes up to Morton Peak. So we just entered the dirt road, but the segment is about to start right up here, right before this turn. So this is the official start right here. Okay, so that's the segment on Strava. Morton Peak 38 to the SART cutoff. So just a little background information about this segment. It is 2.47 miles. It's 1,208 feet of climbing, and the average grade is 9.3%. And so I got the grade up there right now. You can see that I was just at 17% grade, and this thing does not let up. It's a steep grade the entire time. See, back up to 17 right there again. So it's pretty brutal going up there, but it's very fun. And so this is going to take you between 20 and 30 minutes for most people who are in pretty good shape. So plan on that. What I really loved about this segment is that it actually got me a new 20-minute peak. So you could consider it an FTP test if you wanted to. Now today it's a rainy day, so the trail is nice and wet. It's grippy. It's not slippery at all. It's kind of just perfect. It's just enough to grip the ground pretty well with your tires. And so I was running about 35 psi in my back tire. Actually, a little bit more than that probably. And I felt like it was probably about perfect for what I was doing. I have a feeling that most often people are doing this on a mountain bike, and then they're going down the Santa Ana River Trail single track, which is what we also did, but we did it on gravel bikes, I mean. So it was actually a little bit hairy doing it on a gravel bike, and also the trail was overgrown with grass, so that was a little sketchy. Some parts were washed out. There were some deep ruts, so it wasn't all that pretty, but we were able to make it, and I think when the trail's cleaned up a little bit, it would be a nice little ride. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our leaderboard here. And our KOM holder is Cameron Dominguez, and he did it in 2020 actually, so this has not been broken in quite a while. And his comments on the ride actually have a few conversations between a few different people wanting to break it. Devin Wilson in the number 2 spot swore that he would bring Cameron down, but has not yet been able to do so. Now, Cameron did it in 15 minutes and 58 seconds, and he was not using a power meter, but Strava estimated his power to be about 283 watts for this segment. Okay, so back to our ride here. So you can see that the grade changes quite a bit. It's up and down in the teens, and then there's a few spots where the grade gets down to like 3%, even just a tiny bit of negative percentage. But look at that, 15% for quite a bit of this. And if you're paying attention to my watts there in the middle of the screen, you can see that I'm in the 200s and 300 watt range for this entire thing. My heart rate's up to 158. I know that I'm working pretty hard if I get up into the 160s. Now, when I set out on this segment, I wasn't exactly sure where to go. I found it kind of last minute, and this part was important right here. So there was a fork right there, and going left past that gate is where you need to get going. So I actually noticed that gate and wasn't sure which way I was supposed to go, but then I remembered that I had seen on the map that there's a fork and you got to go left. And so last minute I kind of changed directions and made it right past that, and it seemed to work out. I kept myself on track, so luckily I didn't lose the segment that way. So here we go. As of right now, this part of the trail seems to be a little bit lesser grade, up to the 10% range, but I think it's averaging a little bit less than it was for that first half of it. So since it levels out, I'm trying to maintain my watts a little bit actually. On the steeper grades, your watts naturally get higher, and so with it a little bit leveled out a little, it's not as easy to keep the high watts. I'm more in the 200 range, when you saw before that I was in the 300 range quite a bit. for a good chunk of that. So I think it's a little bit more difficult mentally to keep those watts up when the grade is a little bit less steep. Another thing that I have to mention is that my buddy Austin back there, he was right behind me for a good chunk of the first half, but he had a few mechanical issues that set him back a little bit. And I do have to point out that Austin is a stronger climber than me. He's stronger in fitness all around, but the thing that I think got me past him and continuing to gap him even without his mechanicals was my gearing on this bike. So what I'm working with is I've got a Salsa gravel bike. Okay, it's got 42 millimeter tires, which is a little bit wider than his, but also my gearing is quite a bit different. So the gearing that I have on this bike, I had my rear derailleur swapped out for a mountain bike derailleur, and so I'm working with 52 gears in the back. That's my biggest chain ring, and so I can really get my gears down and keep my cadence high when I'm working with like 15 to 17% range. Now there's a lot of people, even at the bike shop and everything, that you'll ask them what kind of gearing you need on a gravel bike, and they will not recommend making those changes that I did. But I like to climb, and I like going up mountains, and we've got mountains here in Southern California, so I felt like that was the right move for me. And I have to say that I love my gearing ratio. It has really helped me out because there are a lot of steep climbs around here that you would just be grinding away at like probably less than 50 RPMs. So I really feel like that gearing gave me an advantage going up this. Okay, now we're actually getting pretty close to the end of the segment, and up here you're going to see a single track on the left, and there's a post, so you'll be able to identify it right there, and that is the start of the Santa Ana River Trail section, or that's the connection to the Santa Ana River Trail. It is right up here on the left, and that will be the end of our segment right there. Okay. And here are my stats on the screen. So I did it in 26 minutes and 32 seconds. My average watts were 256. My average speed was 5.6 miles per hour. And oh man, I felt like I crushed this. I was super excited about a new 20-minute power peak, which I got on this segment. It was 258 watts. So my 20-minute power is going up quite a bit recently, and so I was very happy with this ride in general. So instead of turning off at the single track right there, I went all the way up to the peak and I circled around the tower, and I waited for my buddy Austin here to catch up. And so you can see some awesome views, great scenery around the mountains, the clouds, the snow up there. You can see the river in the distance, and it's just a spectacular view. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and tune in for the next one.